Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, the second part of my conversation about Panini Blockchain with Kort Peters, who's really working it hard. I think Panini's really established a beachhead there. I think digital is going to be part of the story going forward. And so ignoring it, even if you're a vintage collector, I think you need to know what's going on. That's the posture I've taken. Thanks, sponsors, Topps, Upper Deck, and certainly Panini, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. As you find out from the Panini Blockchain platform, it's like ComC in the sense that it's a self-contained platform. So I can't keep them on my computer other than a representation of going to Panini Direct or the Panini Blockchain website. No problem with that. But as I said, if you are not a lifelong learner and you're ignoring things that are moving in a direction that the culture is moving, which is toward more digital, then you're liable to get left out in the cold. I don't want to be left out. I'm still learning, and I hope you are too. Again, thanks, Kort. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, my other friends at Panini. That hopefully this is an enjoyable episode. This is the final part, and we'll see what happens. Time will tell as how much of the collecting dollar the digital products get. So here it is.
When we mint on Panini Blockchain, the record of the chain is public. Anyone can read it. As soon as we mint a card and it's open, you'll be able to see what cards are out there. Now, you'll be able to see if they are unopened in packs. You'll be able to see whether they're with somebody's collection, and you're able to then make a global offer. For instance, in this current select FIFA pack that we just released, currently the field level black Lionel Messi is still in a pack somewhere.
Know that because unlike certain repacks or the original repacks, there was no transparency. You didn't know what was in there. You didn't know what had been pulled. You're saying it's full transparency. You know what's in it. You don't know where it is. It hasn't been opened yet. And that drives the secondary market up or down. Correct?
Significant.
Well, no, if the best card gets pulled or something.
At some point, yes, it will change, obviously. If the best two cards out of the packs get pulled, then yes. Obviously, the secondary value of the pack will go down, yes. But that's the great part of it, right? The transparency allows us to know that. And it gives us more value rather than the idea that a Luka rookie card is still sitting in a flawless briefcase somewhere.
Maybe.
Or it's just sitting in your collection behind you and it's just out of view, right? The really interesting part of blockchain is that it is completely transparent and we know where all the cards exist, whether or not they are in a pack or not in a pack. There's a collector on our platform who's already placed a $20,000 global offer for the Lionel Messi field level black. And so if that card gets pulled, first thing that happens is that person who pulled it knows they have a global offer of $20,000. And that's a really interesting proposition that, again, in the same way that in all the other things that we did at the National, we would literally show you, like, here's the top value card of the one you pulled. And there's a current offer for this on our platform. Yes. So the transparency goes well on top of that, being able to know that card exists and where it is. Now you can make an offer, whether or not that person is interested in selling. The other part is I may have some cards that I don't really know if I want to sell, but if you make a good enough offer, I might want to take it. What's interesting then is if you have a card that has multiples. So let's just say it's an ultra rare card of 49. Now, I may not want to sell mine, but you might want to sell yours. And you may not have thought you wanted to sell it until you saw a global offer of $100. So you can accept that offer instead of me accepting that offer because it's a global offer on that specific card. And you can be as granular as saying, I only want the serial number 1 of 49. You can say, I only want the jersey number. But in general, most people are just making a global offer on that specific card in that set. And so as a result of that, it makes it so much easier. I don't have to do a lot of work in terms of that. The system allows us.
It's a ledger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
and that's
but they don't get anything. In other words, the guy that pays the $20,000, he gets the right to say it's his, and he could show people by going into the system and saying, these are my holdings, but he can't take it out.
Correct. It's not a physical card.
However, I want to make sure I get to this. There is some special, when something's a one of one, tell me more about that, Because
Yep.
that's really interesting. But does the one of one get disconnected from the blockchain, the physical card, because the physical card could get lost or sold?
Sure. There's two ways we approached this. The first thing we did when we built Panini Blockchain was build the Dutch auctions. We were building a physical version and a digital version, and we were selling them together as a pair. People would come to a reverse auction, which basically starts at X dollars, works its way down to Y dollars until somebody wants to buy it. And we were doing that. And that was a really great experience because what we were trying to do at that point was get physical collectors excited about digital collecting as well, and not trying to show them this was the only way we were going to do it. Throughout the years, we've done Dutch auctions for a physical digital pairing, and we have continued to do it. Our last version of that was at the end of last year. We did 2024 National Treasures blockchain, and it was a multi-sport program where we had significant assets, including a LeBron and a Wemby and a couple other really big ones that sold. Then we also got interested in the idea of placing a redemption card inside high-end physical products. So we did that with Flawless, Immaculate, and National Treasures. But what we did was there was a redemption card for a specific blockchain card that you could then come in and claim on our chain. And that was an interesting concept as well. Again, focused on the higher end collector coming in and being interested in collecting something that would be super rare in our blockchain. Now, earlier this year, with the Immaculate Collection basketball, what we did was we actually made a physical card set called Immaculate Blockchain. We brought every one of those cards back to our facility after they were printed and constructed. We took high-res photos and scans of those cards, and we made almost exact digital replications of those cards. Now, in this case, we actually put a redemption card for the digital card, for the exact physical card that was in the box. Previously, we were just offering you a redemption card for a something, but now we created the opportunity for physical twinning, like actual physical twins. And we've seen some people who are digital collectors and they've gone online and seen, oh, okay, I can pick this blockchain card up as a redemption, whether it's on eBay or one of the other major marketplaces. There are some people that are selling it as the physical digital pair because it hasn't been redeemed yet. And there are some people that are just selling the physical card itself and keeping the digital version for themselves. So it's been a really interesting experience because for me, there's a lot of discussion within our Discord of the idea of having a physical digital pairing. Some people actually tried to do it even on our pack pulled products that we don't directly tie to the blockchain. But for these specific cards, it's really interesting to see whether or not they are actually staying together or not. And that is an interesting challenge that I look forward to focusing a little bit more time on as we move forward of how do you create a scenario that actually allows for the physical and digital to potentially be paired together.
You reward.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There's a bonus or not a bounty, but if you unpair them, they're worth less apart than they are together.
For that specific thought, if you're just coming to us from a physical standpoint, how do we teach you the value of the digital card itself? As we move forward, we'll start finding more creative ways to put the cards together. I don't know exactly what that looks like. Here's what I tell people that ask me about physical digital pairing. If you want me to build a digital program with cards we already have approved by our licensing partners, I can tell you I can build a digital program in a month. But if I add physical to that, it can take me 6 to 9 months because we now are adding the process of actually putting together all these pieces, right? We have two ways of accessing Panini Blockchain. The first way is through nft.paniniamerica.net in your web browser. You can also use it on your mobile browser on your phone. Our best experience from a mobile standpoint to show off the cards is through the Panini Direct app. At the bottom of the Panini Direct app, there's a tab that says blockchain where you can go in and show off your digital collection. We actually found that our users are typically not buying physical cards, so they actually go straight to Panini Blockchain as part of their app experience. in our app, there's a setting that allows you to decide which way the app opens. Most of our users love the fact that they can quickly just open up Panini Blockchain via the Panini Direct app. If I want to show somebody my collection, I'm going to take the app and I'm going to open it up because I can open the cards to a full view on my screen and show you what that looks like. It feels like we're getting away from the argument of I have to have this thing in my hands.
5 years ago with Top Shot, they got overheated, and it was not necessarily a scam, but a lot of people got in to try to exploit something. And I think you're doing it in a more reasonable way with vaults being understood now that I just have a digital vault and it's more secure than any physical vault.
But for somebody who's been collecting for so long and been at the head of that, is it sad a little bit? Is it exciting? I just wonder from somebody who has your perspective of what it looked like for so long.
I want to learn. And I think anybody in the hobby that's just thinking, this is the way it is, the way it's always going to be, that's not a good way to look at life. I mean, things change, things evolve, things improve. Some good things go away, some new good things come. I like it when card companies and other entrepreneurs are thinking, what's next? When I started, there wasn't really grading. There wasn't breaking. There wasn't vaulting. Now, I'm not really a customer for breaking. On the other hand, I've got a lot of cards at ComC. They're my de facto vault for a bunch of cards. If somebody asked me, do you have that card? I could say, yeah. To me, that's the analogy because I've had players say, do you have my cards? Yeah. Where is it? I said, it's either back in my card cave or it's at ComC and I could show it to you. But if I had a digital vault, I could say I have that too. Those things got overheated, got way out in front of their skis, and now there's stigma. Kort, that's the problem. For you guys, being nimble, that is my hope. I don't believe in scarcity mentality. And the digital world is absolutely not, it's not your gain is my loss.
I'm not trying to evangelize and say that physical collecting is bad. As we walk through the National multiple times and even go to a trade night and the kids and young adults or however we want to think about it, we see them glued to their phone looking at what does the comp tell me?
The old guys that say, hey, we got to get it back the way it used to be. It's not going to happen. We're wasting breath trying to do that. And you said an important thing. Do we think the world is going to be more or less digital 5 years from now?
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's an exciting space to be in. When I came to Panini, my initial thought was I was going to be making football cards. I quickly found from my boss that there was a need here in this space. And I grew up around technology. My dad was a database engineer who worked on computers the size of conference rooms, bigger warehouse spaces. I never grew up in a space that computers didn't exist in our household. And I think as a result, that gave us a unique positioning here to start thinking about how we actually build the next level of product. And it's been super fun. I had come from working for myself for 20 years. And so to come into a space where I have similar freedoms because this is a newer space, the company is committed to it, but also it's interesting because our resources get played in a way that our physical teams build the cards I get to work with. And that gives me great freedom because I don't have to sit here and worry about, did I build the right players list? No, our physical team does that and they do a great job. And they basically set me up with awesome product to give to our customers.
If you're giving out free packs, most people in this hobby do not turn down free stuff. Then they think, what am I going to do with my free stuff? The biggest national up till recently was the Anaheim National, which was built, the enthusiasm based on all these promos. That people were going through the line, getting their promos, then selling them and getting back in line, getting some more promos and selling them.
Yes.
Once you have that frenzy with the Panini blockchain product, even if somebody's exploiting it, they're getting some free ones because they can only sell it inside your platform. Then they're a member and you can market to them and they can say, hey, now I'm going to buy some because I now know how this works. The physical cards are going to go away, but it doesn't have to be a competition.
Eventually, I look at it and say, okay, we're going to live in an environment where the physical vaults work in context with virtual reality. As somebody who's digital, I get very frustrated by the card show experience because I can walk by 1,000 tables and not find one thing I was actually looking for. Why is that happening? because there's no way of actually putting out a feeler or a radar blip saying Kort Peters is looking for these 3 cards at the show. And if you have them, let him know what booth you're at, because I'll come by there and make you an offer. And I might have walked by that booth 10 times.
That's your use case for the Panini blockchain.
100%.
I'm just saying.
100%.
But you can't make people think that way. They've got to figure it out.
Exactly.
This is not necessarily a better way. It's a different way, and it has some advantages. The only disadvantage is you can't take it with you. You have no physicality to it other than showing somebody the picture.